So we're at the skate park. It's 5:57 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're out here. All right, so I'm here with my pal Max. We just left the skate park and we did a very, very early morning skate.
So early.
And we have the post-skate glow.
Post-skate glisten.
Yeah, glisten.
The glisten.
How was your session, Mac?
It was good. I have some chronic pain that has gotten worse with age and time, so I find myself a little limited, but such is life, and it's nice to go and not feel like I felt very supported. It felt nice to go and not feel like I had to work super hard.
Yeah, I had a good session too. Today I learned that splinters are my kink.
Skaterade!
So Jasmine and Mack here, hanging out in Mack's apartment. We're going to have a nice, natural conversation.
We've been trying to nail it for so long now that we're trying to figure out how to build some rapport, and we're working on it.
Yeah, because we have rapport when there's no microphone pointed at us, but as soon as we point the microphone at us, it's...
Both incredibly anxious people.
Yeah, we really are. And that's part of what we're here to talk about, right?
Yeah, definitely. So Jasmine came to me with an idea. She presented a podcast idea to me. Do you want to sort of tell the tale?
Yeah, so for the longest time, I wanted to do a podcast about roller skating because I've had so many meaningful experiences through roller skating. And I always feel like I'm an exceptionally emotional person and I want to talk about it more than is natural in a skate setting. And after the session is over, I always want to have a conversation with people about it. And I don't know if everyone feels that way, but I always just feel like there's a lot to unpack. So I really wanted to do a podcast about roller skating. And when I met Mack, we both work at Five Stride Skate Shop together here in Brooklyn. And Mack is a therapist, and I always thought that they were always so brilliant and a great conversationalist. And in my mind, it would be a dream to even have you as a guest, honestly. And then I finally got the guts to ask you to do a podcast with me. And when you said yes, I kind of couldn't believe it, but here we are.
It's so funny because I want to reflect, that I don't actually think I knew that part of the story around like your feelings around skating and wanting to process basically with people afterwards. I don't think that was really a part of the picture for me until just now when you shared it, which is exciting for me. Yeah. Jasmine came to me and was like, hey, I have this idea, and I love a project. And I thought for a while now I've had interests of my own to do podcasting, but it felt like a thing that was so far down the road for me that it was a little out of mind, honestly, but just something that I had an interest in on some level. And so this just kind of felt like the universe sort of dropping an opportunity in my lap to spend more time with someone that I care about, to learn some new things, which is cool, to get a chance to talk to other skaters in a way that I don't always get to, or like in a way that at the skate shop, we're kind of always talking to skaters and we can have some of those emotional moments with them. But,
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely, for sure, right? But I also have a really keen interest in sort of expanding conversations, talking with people about, the struggles that they go through. And throughout my life, I've been one of those people that people want to seem to have those conversations with me. So yeah, this just kind of felt like the perfect thing. And I'm not always great at keeping myself accountable. So I figured if we're doing a thing together, there's someone else to help move the project along a little bit, because it's hard for me to prioritize, fun stuff like this for myself.
Yeah, you have a really busy calendar, and I really appreciate you making the time, because I feel like I would love to have those conversations with other people and just kind of see where their head is at when they're skating, and what the impact is on their body, their mind. And there's just so much that goes on with all those moving parts in skating.
Basically, we're here to present to you all this podcast about that. We're hoping to interview skaters and have conversations about, what is skating to you? How does it impact you? How has it impacted your life? How did you get into it? For me, for all intents and purposes, I want this to be like a collection of oral histories, right? I want this to be like a representation of who is in the skating community right now in 2022, like at large, and kind of offer some preservation of these stories as well. There's a lot I could say about storytelling and the importance of that, I think culturally and therapeutically and otherwise. I'll leave it for another conversation, but yeah, I guess that's kind of the hope. Do you want to add anything to that, Jasmine?
Yeah, you're right. I feel like there's so much to be documented, and we get to see little glimpses of that in the shop all the time. And it just feels very vibrant and very alive. And yeah, it would be a shame to not try and capture some of that. I would like to chat about the skate session that we had today.
Okay.
Since it's super fresh in our minds.
Yeah, definitely.
How we felt while we were skating today. And also just how we're feeling in general when we skate. This morning, Mack and I got up at 5 a.m. to go roller skating with our friend Wendy. And it's wild getting up that early.
It's so wild.
It's so dark and the birds are singing. And
especially in Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah.
During the day, it's like so busy. And at 5 a.m., it's really not that busy.
Right. And a lot of the reason why I personally love getting up early to go to the skate park is because there's no one there. And I'm very, very much new to park skating. It causes a lot of anxiety for me. There's performance anxiety. And then there's also just the bodily fear of using skate park features,
Sure.
I did a pretty small drop in today, but it was the second time I've ever dropped in somewhere other than this one skate park that we often go to here in Brooklyn. And it was exciting to drop in on a new ramp. And I had Mack there to encourage me. Mack is extremely athletic and capable. So whenever Mack tells me something is possible, suddenly I believe that it is, which is really nice. And I know I'm not the only person who feels that way about you. It's very encouraging to hear you say, oh yeah, that's totally possible.
Totally doable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was totally doable today, and then you did it.
Yeah, I did it.
I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, it was just, a really good time. And I didn't drop in on anything super tall because I'm still afraid, but I did stand on top of some taller ramps today, and just, having that vantage point of looking down on it kind of made it feel kind of real. And what you're saying was, visualization. Just, I think that's a big step to just get up there and look down, to just get a sense of what it would be like. And hopefully I'll be able to work up the strength to do a taller ramp. How tall is that ramp? Like maybe 5 or 6 feet?
I think that's the 5-footer, maybe.
5-footer. Okay.
Something like that.
Wow.
And then there the half or the like half pipe type vert situation is like an 8-foot, I think.
Okay. Yeah. It feels so much taller than 5 feet, but it's 5 feet.
It really does. I mean, when you're down at the bottom, it looks like one thing, and then you get up on the side, and it looks like you get up on like the deck of the ramp.
Yeah. But today was definitely a dream to be in a skate park with just us and have, no one else there to.
And Piebald was playing.
Yeah, Piebald. I don't know if you guys know Piebald, but that's definitely one of my favorite childhood bands. I really, really love it. And Mack was excited to hear H2O. Yeah, shout out to Wendy for early 2000s jams.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Yeah, definitely. It was nice to go. This was my first time going with you two, but you two had already gone before. Yeah, I felt lucky I got to sort of crash this little early morning rendezvous and join the empty park crew.
Yeah.
I feel similarly. I don't love... It's just so hard sometimes for me to read some of the social dynamics at the park. And I usually feel either hyper attuned to everyone's body language. So I always know exactly who's going to go next, or I know who's kind of lined up and anticipating going next. So I never really know how I can even line up to anticipate going next, because I already see like the next 3 people that seem like they're ready to go. And
Exactly.
like, oh shit. Like I just struggle and I just get really in my head with stuff like that. So it's nice to feel like, I mean, literally each one of us could have had our own ramp today.
It's so true.
So there's just not that pressure or that sort of anticipatory aspect or like way that you got to kind of sit yourself in. And like normally at the park that we went to, there's really nice etiquette and people are like really, they'll check in with each other and like verbally sometimes be like, oh, did you want to go? Like it's usually pretty good, but there's also, that whole element of like, I'm trying something new and like, I'm just sort of embarrassed to
Right.
in front of other people that I don't know.
And that's how I feel. I just always convince myself that I'm being watched, even though that's never the case.
Sure, yeah. And it's like, I guess at the skate park, we are all watching each other and being watched on a certain level, but it's like, does anyone care or give a shit about what you're doing? Not necessarily. Like, but it's so, it's, I can't, I just have my own sort of trauma parts and stuff that are right now in my life, I think, a little bit too loud for me to be able to like go to the skate park and like have a nice time.
Yeah.
Because I just end up being a little bit too anxious. And I'm getting more comfortable with it over time, I think, but it just takes time. And like, it's really nice to have a morning where it's like, I don't have to have the spoons to like go to the skate park and deal with all of the social aspects. Like, it just takes a lot less energy to like do it when you don't have to worry about anyone being around. So
it really does.
Honestly, way more accessible for me, like in that way.
I feel the same way, but I will add that I'm excited about building up to being more comfortable with skating with a bunch of people, because it is really exciting just to be there, even on the sidelines, and watch other people skate.
Totally.
And I definitely admire people that can just kind of go for it, but I'm still working on that.
I know. Well, and I had a reflection earlier too that I shared with you about how I was like, actually, that 5-footer was a lot scarier to me today when we were alone. And sometimes, for whatever reason, when I do skate with like a small group of people, I see other people doing things successfully. It does kind of make me feel like, oh, I could do that. So there was that weird balance for me today a little bit. Like, and again, it was really nice to just go and be like, there's no one else here. I don't have to worry about some of the social dynamics, but it did impact on some level my bravery, I think, which is interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Good times.
It gets, like you were saying, it's very overwhelming on a sensory level to be at the skate park to begin with. And the last time the team from Five Stride went skating together, we had a pretty harrowing experience where we got there and there were just little kids everywhere riding on their skateboards like they were ice luge, like they were in like a bobsled riding on their back. And then after that, these guys came with city bikes and they were riding on the bowl on city bikes and trashing the city bikes and throwing a football over top of the bowl. And then these guys showed up on motorcycles, and that's when we finally left.
It's really unhinged, honestly.
It was really unhinged.
I'm sorry that y'all had that experience. I was not there, but I heard about it promptly afterwards.
I believe it.
Yeah. So
it was definitely a remarkable experience.
Only in Brooklyn, baby.
I want to mention too, another reason why I'm interested in podcasting is that I have a verbal tick kind of manifests itself as a stutter, and I'm using this as an opportunity to kind of work through that and build confidence in my speaking. Do you feel like you have any, personal goals or anything that you might want to overcome through the process of podcasting? I know you mentioned accountability. That's a big one on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just generally in my life, accountability for the things I tell myself I'm going to put my time and energy towards is difficult. And that is in large part just because like work oftentimes has to go first and whatever, but no, I think more so for me, I think I'm at a place in my life where I am trying to just only really invest in things that are moving me in the direction of doing stuff I want to do. I don't know. Like I just for so long in my life have sort of acquiesced to other people and done a lot of things because I felt like I had to. And I think right now, the big theme in my life is really like giving myself permission. And that literally means for me, like giving myself permission to have fun, giving myself permission to like try new things and be exceptionally bad at them. giving myself permission to play, giving myself permission to like say no a lot more to things I don't want to do. And I don't know, this just felt really well timed in my life. Also during a period where I'm trying to really put roots down in Brooklyn. Like I've been here for going on 4 years almost. And like, I was here for a year and a half, but that was school and roller derby. Those two communities fell away because of COVID and because of like school ending. And then all of a sudden it was a pandemic and we're all in quarantine and I'm like living with my partner and I don't have any community here. And like there, not to say that like there were people I was still connected with from either of those communities, but it just, you know, it only gets you so far.
Right.
And so we've sort of made our way through quarantine and stuff. And I feel like I'm sort of having this reemergence into the world where right now I'm really, really, really trying to be intentional about the relationships that I'm building. And building them again in the direction of like giving myself permission, right, to pursue the things that I want, to say no to the relationships I don't want. And so this really felt like an opportunity for me to dive into the skate world here a little bit deeper and a little bit more.
Yeah.
And to invest in my relationship with you, which feels important to me, and to invest in my relationship with myself, where I'm like giving myself more time and space to engage in something that I love, which is skating, outside of the context of capitalism, like at least a little bit.
For sure.
Because I either like owned a skate shop or I worked at a skate shop, and like skate shops are super fucking fun, but like you are also like very aware of the ways that capitalism operates. Like when you're working in a retail business, it's just true, you know?
And all the prices just went up. So
yeah,
I'm really feeling that.
Right. So this feels like an opportunity for me to continue to put those roots down. And not to say that we're only talking to local folks here, but yeah, there's a lot of ways that it really like that for me, I think. So, and it's like a very deep and special interest of mine.
For sure.
Skating, so could talk about it forever, would talk about it forever. And here we are.
Hi, Star.
If you hear background clacking or slamming or various other noises,
Starting.
it's probably one Miss Starina Schneider. Or coughing.
That was so well timed.
Because she's here keeping us company, as is Oscar the cat, but he's a little bit less loud.
Yes, ooh, Oscar. Yeah, I mean, I am really encouraged to build more community myself. I mean, even though we work in a skate shop and we kind of quote unquote know everyone, I am definitely interested in getting to know people on this emotional level, not so focused on, you know, what are your skill sets? And I mean, that's super important too, obviously, because we're here to talk about skating, and it's really amazing when people are super talented at skating. But this podcast won't be just a space for, you know, the best skaters,
right?
But it's also a space for them too. And we want to know what drives people and what keeps people skating and what they love about the skate community and how it's feeding them, or maybe even in some ways how it's not serving them, things that they'd like to see change.
Yeah. I think that's like the other big piece that kind of makes me want to do this podcast that I'll add is like, there's just so many really important conversations that the skate community needs to be having, or that skate community is kind of having, but only like parts of it are having. And this is, again, like can be related to sort of the retail business side of it and some of the like patterns and things I've seen there. It could be through the like patterns and relationships I've seen with like the ways that like sponsored skaters and companies like interact. Like there's just like a lot of things to unpack, I think, right? And I think like if there's any way that I can sort of contribute to that conversation, even if it's just through like sharing people's stories and helping listeners maybe understand that like everyone comes from a complex and different place, I think that is hopefully doing some good in the skate community. Like that really matters to me as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to be surprised by what people have to say. And I'm excited for that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
So Mack has been roller skating a lot longer than I have. I'm a relatively new skater. I identify as a pandemic skater. I know to some people that's a not nice term.
Whoa.
Yeah, but it's funny because the other day I met a customer and referred to myself as a pandemic skater. And they said, well, what do you call people that started skating now, like after the height of the pandemic? We just keep putting all these labels on the different types of skaters.
Like the Gen Z skaters.
Yeah.
Gen Z pandemic skater.
Yeah.
Wacky.
But yeah, I've wanted to pick up roller skating for a really long time, and finally did it at the ripe old age of 34.
We love our 30s over here.
Yeah. And I don't even remember the exact moment where it was like, now is the time. I think I had just remembered I had this coworker back when I worked at opening ceremony pre-pandemic, and the before times. I worked with this guy named Ethan who would roller skate at Brooklyn Skates, aka Crazy Legs, or formerly Crazy Legs, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
And he showed me all these great videos of himself skating, and just the sense of community that was conveyed in all those videos he showed me. And he showed me Five Stride, and he showed me your account, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's how I knew that you existed before I even met you.
That's why. Oh, I didn't realize that was the connection. Okay.
Yeah. And it planted a seed in my mind that kind of stayed burrowed until the pandemic hit. And then I probably saw somebody on Instagram, like every other, Tom, Dick, and Harry that came across roller skating during the pandemic. And it was really, really hard to get skates. When I was first interested in grabbing a pair, I tried to get a pair of Moxie Lollies.
Were they on back order for 12 months?
Pretty much. I mean, it took 6 months to get them. And in the interim, I was able to get another pair of skates from Five Stride that were a size too big for me, but it's what you guys had at the time.
That's what people were buying, was what we had at the time.
Yeah, exactly. I got a pair of Panthers in a size 9. I'm a 7.5. So
Panthers are nice.
Yeah, they are nice. It was a good find. And I know. So I was really excited to get my hands on those skates, because for the longest time I was just getting ready for it. I was doing tons of squats and doing all these IT band stretches and watching all these amazing, YouTube videos. A friend of mine, Kid Ace, she did a series of videos called No Skates, No Problem.
Oh shit! I didn't hear. I'm the guy. I'm
Yeah.
not very plugged in, just so everyone knows. I really am not on social media a whole lot. I don't know what the hell's going on, everyone.
But it was amazing because she showed you all these exercises to do while you were waiting for your skates.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and I still do her yoga classes to this day. Shout out to Kid Ace, Mary, one of the best. Very generous and kind spirit. She's helped me during times where I've been injured too, because I got really kind of overzealous about the whole skate 365 thing as a pandemic skater. I know, right? Fell into that.
I'm like, wow, never have I ever, nor would I ever.
I know. bless your heart. I wouldn't again. So yeah, I tried to do the 365 and I made it about 90 days in, and then I hurt my ankle, and I don't know exactly what was wrong with it, but I knew it was time to rest. So I started resting, and at the time I was like so desperate to put out any sort of content to show that I was still committed to it, that I would just put my roller skates on and like exercise in my roller skates, like without skating, which
Nice
was
little ankle weight, if you will.
yeah, exactly. And Kid Ace was super sweet and sent me some rehabilitative kind of exercises and videos for me, which was really nice.
That's great.
It's definitely been sort of a cliche pandemic skater journey for me, but it's evolved into so much more. And I feel so committed and so excited about all the possibilities within skating. I started out really focusing on dance skating, and then I kind of dipped my toe into street skating, and now I'm trying park skating with you. Maybe someday I'll get to try some derby stuff. We'll see. Maybe.
I'm ready for it.
I definitely think the athleticism is in there somewhere. I just gotta unlock it.
I believe.
Yeah.
You can find your way there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm super new in my mind. I still refer to myself as a beginner, which people often will laugh at me for. They're like, you've been skating for almost 2 years.
Yeah, I
now.
was one of those people. I was like, I don't know. Are you sure about that?
Yeah. I just feel so fresh and new and so baby, but I think part of me kind of clings to that for comfort. So if I don't do so hot, I'd be like, I'm a beginner.
Yeah, sure. hey, look, whatever works. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
And I definitely fall prey to comparing myself. I don't know if you struggle with that at all, comparing yourself.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because it's hard to picture because you're such a good skater and such a strong skater. And whenever I watch you, I'm just like, wow. So I can't picture you feeling that way, but I'm sure you do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were up very early this morning. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think part of what fueled me in roller derby was comparison, right? Like I wanted to be the best in many ways, which was cool and great for a while. And then also was kind of unhealthy at times. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, with derby, like I really wasn't someone who watched a lot of footage because I didn't really like to look at what other jammers were doing because a lot of times it would kind of just freak me out. So I did kind of stay a little more in my lane with derby where I would sort of just be like, I'm just going to do my thing. I'm going to skate really hard. I'm going to do what I know how to do. But I didn't do a whole lot of like comparison as much, but like at the skate park, I definitely struggle with it. And especially like watching skaters like videos and stuff on like Instagram. Not only do I struggle with like comparison, but I really struggle with like, wow, it must be really nice to have time to go to the skate park regularly. And sure, it makes me kind of bitter sometimes. And I don't really like that about myself. I think I'm getting better at it now that my life is getting a little more full with things that I enjoy and I'm not like feeling quite so like burnt out. And that makes sense that that's a correlation that's happening. But like, yeah, for a while, I just couldn't really follow any skaters because I just was like, I'm trying to survive and I'm working constantly and I'm super burnt out and I'm super miserable and I'm not having any fucking fun and I don't have time to go have any fun and I can't afford to pay to go have any fun either. And so it was really hard for me to watch other skaters and like watch other skaters improve and get to just like spend time doing something that they enjoyed and like having their own little victories. It was like very, very tough for me.
Yeah. Putting in the time is so key. Like you're saying, if you don't have the talent and it's really, really tricky to improve.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm in a really different place now and I don't feel like I compare myself as much because I'm kind of like getting better at being like, I have my own style anyway. Like what even is comparison a little, especially at the skate park when things are so sort of like artistic in a way. And I'm not really playing roller derby right now. And I'm doing a lot more things that are a little more like centered in comparing myself only to myself anyway, like weightlifting or like running. So it's not as much now, but I definitely have struggled with it in the past in various ways.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely essential to be able to, fully enjoy your experience and feel fully embodied in skating that you kind of have to put that comparison monster away. And it's so challenging because it rears its ugly head at me all the time.
Yeah.
And I kind of have that same thing that you described, that sort of that bitterness that comes up sometimes when, for me, it'll be something that I've struggled to land, like a certain trick or a certain move. And, sometimes when someone gets it the first time or something like that, it's like, oh, I'm never going to get it. And it just can be really frustrating.
Yeah, totally. Sure. It's hard. I mean, I think it'd be hard for someone not to feel those ways in some ways.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, yeah.
When I'm feeling more constructive, sometimes I will screen record people landing a trick and then I'll just like slow it down and like try to comprehend what they did and try to do it. And it really helps sometimes.
That's cool. That's smart.
Yeah.
That's very smart. One of the things that came up for me this morning in session, and I wasn't really expecting it. I think it partially is because I haven't been great with my like nightly stretching routines lately. And I've also just been doing a lot more physically lately. I like riding almost 40 miles the other night.
Yeah. Shout out to Bella and Paco.
Yeah, right. But like riding so fast, I was like, wow, I'm getting so old. What has the pandemic done to me? But yeah, today, like I just really, even as I was warming up and getting started, I just noticed a lot of tightness like along the one side of my neck. And I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be one of those days. So I just had to take things like a lot slower than I normally would have because for me, like I get some like cervical and thoracic pain and I get some like low back pain. And basically I have like early like signs of degenerative disc disease, basically like in my neck and the top of my back area of my spine for folks that aren't familiar with the like thoracic cervical language. I think it's particularly normal for someone who has been playing hockey like my whole life and also like 10 years of a contact sport called roller derby. Also on a team that like set the record for the most sanctioned games played in a season when I was skating with Ohio. Like it was really brutal on my body. So now I'm sort of paying the consequences of that, but it does really, especially for whatever reason at the skate park, it really flares up. So this morning I was in a place where I really did not want that to be my day. So I just sort of took things really slow, but it was super nice because we had the space to take things really slow because
we really did. It was beautiful.
Like, I got to just like sit and like when we could socialize a little bit and I got to like watch you do some stuff. I got to like, it's like, it was fine for all intents and purposes. I think I would have felt a lot worse if it was like really busy there or if I was with a bunch of people that were like really active or like really going for it or like really good. Like, I think it just felt nice to be with folks who are like learning alongside me and folks who also were like, had a really low key vibe,
Totally.
And to, again, like have space to just kind of like sit and chill and not feel like I'm in someone's way or whatever. But,
and you were talking about like switching up your stance too, to mitigate that.
Yeah. Well, that's why today. So my whole goal for the morning, I sort of mentioned to folks when we got there was I'm really just trying to do everything like fakey basically. Like, so instead of having my right leg be my sort of back stabilizer leg, like it almost always is just like by default, I very intentionally was having my left leg be my back leg stabilizer, like incredibly difficult because that leg is bad at doing everything. So like I can't
look beautiful to me, but
like I feel like I can kind of go straight on the ramp, but every once in a while my leg just decides to like go some different direction. I like don't feel like I have full control of it. But I was trying a lot more of that because I'm really trying to now in my life, like part of the reason I'm not playing as much roller derby is because they're always crossing over one direction. And I'm trying to kind of only do things that are very like even for my body because the holding patterns that I'm living with currently just bring up like a lot of neck and shoulder and back and head pain. So yeah, I was very limited today, but I felt really good about my ability to like listen to my body, cue in on that, and then not like push myself super hard. Cause like right now I don't have a headache. I've had a pretty good day so far. Like I don't have a lot
Me too.
of pain. Yeah, it's been great. So yeah, I don't know. And that's just something that I think I'll probably always deal with.
Yeah.
At the skate park, like from now on. Which is also like, a whole other conversation about aging bodies and like changing bodies. But yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was more of a struggle with my anxiety and being perceived and even just standing up on the taller ramps and seeing how high up they were. I really get into my head and I start catastrophizing and imagining all these horrible things happening to myself, and it's really hard for me to get myself out of those patterns. And it's really nice and supportive to have you there. And it really allows me to sort of recenter myself because like you were saying before, like I watch you and I see what's possible. And then I think, okay, it's safe. It's okay. I can try.
Sure.
Everything's going to be fine. So we're talking about the struggles that we have when we're at the skate park in terms of mental and physical challenges. What are some of the things that make it worth it and fun for you that are not painful?
Yeah. Wow. Like skating is just always so hard on the bottom.
Skating is pain.
Skating is pain. Wow. Like those shirts that used to say, they probably still have them that say, give blood, play hockey.
So hardcore.
Stupid.
Like the genre of music hardcore.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I mean, for me, skating has just been a part of my life for so long. Like, I think especially growing up too, as someone who had a lot of mental health stuff, like I was institutionalized at a young age, meaning like I was hospitalized at a young age with an eating disorder. And it's like hockey was always my escape from like everything else. And now like skating, it still operationalizes in the same way if I'm roller skating, right? Derby too, like not quite the same setup, but there's the smells of, the crash pad or whatever, or the smells of like the venue, like the sound of wheels on the sport court floor and the sound of a bunch of wheels going real fast around on the sport court, like it's just, there are these like very sensory pieces that I think my body picks up on that just create this like incredibly calming experience.
There's a rhythm to it.
Absolutely. And it allows me to really get into this place where there's just nothing else in front of me except for that. And I experience that so rarely in my day-to-day life. Like it just doesn't happen in my day-to-day life. And I think part of that is my neurodivergence. So some of the ADHD stuff, like some of my trauma stuff, but my mind is so busy and there's so many overlapping conversations in my mind happening constantly. And so these spaces are spaces where like I get into this rhythm and that's just it. And there's just nothing like that release for me. And there's nothing like having that regularly in my life to kind of give me an opportunity to get out of my own head, to like be in my own body, to be like hyper focused on something. And typically I've been playing team sports. So there's also that element of like, I'm just around people and we're all just going super hard for each other and for ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, like that just means so much to me. You know, dance skating is a really different world for me that I'm just now getting into, but it's also exciting in its own way. It's just a little bit different.
There's definitely some parallels.
But there are. It's a lot of people going super hard for each other. Yep, absolutely.
The energy, the music comes into it.
Absolutely. So I'm really enjoying learning that because it's very different than a sport, but it's also, like you said, kind of not.
Yeah.
But it's allowed that, like dance skating specifically, I feel very committed to because it's allowing me a lot more space to play.
For sure.
Sports are like very regimented.
Yeah.
Sports are like, do it this way, and this is the right way, and here's the technique, and then perform. But dance skating is like, girl, twirl in a circle if you want.
Exactly.
No, like whatever.
Yeah. And I feel like there are a ton of parallels there in that it allows you to get out of your head when you're someone who's so consumed with overlapping thoughts.
Yeah.
I struggle with that too. And being able to skate in a space where you feel safe and you feel like you belong.
Fully. Absolutely.
Yeah. I definitely second that when I'm skating, I'm definitely able to disconnect from all those overlapping thoughts in my mind. And it just becomes, like you said, the sound of the wheels, sound of the music, just the feeling of rolling around.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. It's also just like that like floating feeling you get when you're skating. There's just nothing like it, really. Like I don't really even get that feeling on my bike, which is its own type of floating feeling, and it's very fun and I love it. But skating is like it's just its own feeling as a human being. Like I just, you know, like since when we're human beings like, hey, we're gonna strap some wheels on our feet? You know what I mean? Like it's just such an interesting sensation for us, I think, too, in a way.
Yeah, and skating has given me so much more of a healthy relationship with my body, because I know we've talked about this many times before together, but before I just kind of viewed fitness as, you know, what size pants I can wear, maybe even how long I can run or how far I can run. But now I have this relationship with my body of, you know, what can I do? What can I achieve next in skating? And it kind of makes you take care and approach yourself in such a different way. Very body empowering to roller skate, or at least for me.
Yeah, definitely.
And even though I'm pretty early on in my journey, I am finding myself really impressed by the things that I can do. Like when I sit down and take stock of the things that I can do, it's such a thrill and it's such an accomplishment that is just inherently mine. And like you were saying, it's outside of this realm of capitalism or doing things for a paycheck, right? It's just you do it because you love it.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of autonomy in that too, you know?
Definitely.
A big part of what feels really good about it too, in a way, for me. Yeah, I have my own stories about how roller derby has really encouraged me to sort of take care of myself, and definitely like, you know, early 20s, really steeped in an eating disorder, trying to get into roller derby, finding myself plateauing because I'm not eating enough, really was like cramping my style. So I was like, wow, I guess I have to really get my shit together if I want to be good at this thing. And so, you know, that was definitely a huge drive for me to move in the direction of like eating disorder changes and whatnot in my life in a pretty big way at that time. So, you know, it has been unhealthy in other ways around like body care and stuff. So I don't want to like harp on that story too much, but it was something meaningful for me to really think differently about how I was fueling myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are going to be leaning into the topics of health and wellness as they relate to roller skating. And we're going to get curious about how skating has changed people's relationships to themselves and their community in these coming episodes. And we're so excited to bring our interview guests to you all and to spend some time with them.
Yeah, so thanks for getting to know us a little, and we look forward to introducing you to our friends. So, yeah.
Skate hard and have fun.
Woo!